It started like any other crossing, a sailing yacht, open water, the Strait of Gibraltar. Then a bump below the hull. Then another, harder. Then the rudder, the one piece of equipment keeping the whole boat under control, starts moving on its own. 3 orcas, working in shifts, ramming the rudder, twisting it, snapping it apart, piece by piece. The crew couldn't stop them. They couldn't outrun them. They could only watch as the boat was systematically taken apart and call the Coast Guard.
This wasn't a freak accident. Between 2020 and 2024, over 700 documented interactions between orcas and vessels off the Iberian coast. More than 50 boats sunk or seriously damaged. And at the center of the story, one orca, scarred, old, and according to the internet, furious. Her name is White Gladys, and some people believe she started a war. Are orcas seeking revenge on humans? Chapter 1. The Revenge Theory. Let's start with the theory that broke the internet. White Gladys is an adult female orca, a matriarch, part of the critically endangered Iberian orca subpopulation. Fewer than 40 individuals left. And she carries scars. Researchers believe she had a traumatic encounter with a human vessel sometime before 2020. A collision. Entanglement in fishing gear. The details are unclear, but something happened. And after that, she changed. She began approaching boats, targeting their rudders, attacking with precision. And then she taught others. Within months, younger orcas in her group were copying the behavior exactly. The attack spread through the population like a signal, which brings us to what makes this genuinely terrifying, not just as a news story, but as a scientific one. Orcas have the 3rd largest brains on the planet. Their neural architecture includes a highly developed limbic system, the seat of emotion, memory, and social bonding. They communicate in dialects unique to each pod. They have individual calls, essentially names, that other orcas use to address them specifically. And they have long memories. Research suggests orcas can remember individual animals, individual places, and almost certainly individual experiences for decades. If White Gladys was hurt by a boat, she remembers the boat. If she decided boats are threats and passed that belief to her pod, that's not instinct. That's a grudge. Chapter 2. The Twist. The Fad Theory. Okay, here's where the story gets weirder, because some researchers looked at this behavior and said, yes, this is learned. Yes, it's spreading through the population. But revenge? What if they're just playing? Hear me out. Because orcapods have a documented history of picking up bizarre collective behaviors that spread like wildfire through a population, serve no obvious survival purpose, and then just stop. The most famous example? In the 1980s, a group of orcas in the Pacific Northwest started wearing dead salmon on their heads. Not eating them, wearing them. One orca started it, others copied. For a period, it was just the thing they did. And then it faded. Scientists call these cultural fads, and they're one of the most remarkable documented behaviors in the animal kingdom. So, could the boat ramming be one of these? Here's the supporting evidence. In recent years, bluefin tuna populations in the Atlantic have been recovering, partly due to fishing regulations, which means the Iberian orcas, whose primary prey is bluefin tuna, may suddenly have more food than they need. And animals with full stomachs and free time? Play. Marine biologists studying the Iberian population noted that the orcas engaging most enthusiastically in the boat interactions are juveniles, young animals, ones for whom this might genuinely be a game. A dangerous, expensive Coast Guard summoning game, but a game. And crucially, the behavior appears to be spreading horizontally among young orcas first, then vertically up to older individuals. That's exactly the pattern you'd expect from a fad, not a military campaign, a trend. Think of it less as vengeance and more like the most chaotic 30-ton viral challenge you've ever seen.
Chapter 3. The Darker Truth. But here's where the comfortable it's just play theory starts to crack. Because some researchers aren't convinced it's either revenge or a fad. They think it might be something more strategic and more sobering. Theory 1. It's training. Bluefin tuna, the orca's primary prey in these waters, are enormous, fast, and difficult to hunt. Some marine biologists believe adult orcas may be using the boat rudders as a training tool for juvenile orcas.
Rudders are large, moving, mechanically similar in resistance to a big fish. Practicing on a rudder, learning to grip it, twist it, break it, could be building the precise motor skills needed to take down a bluefin. In other words, the boats aren't the target. The boats are the practice dummy. Theory 2. Noise pollution. The Strait of Gibraltar is one of the most heavily trafficked shipping lanes on the planet. A vessel passes through approximately every 5 minutes. For an orca, that is a uniquely specific kind of agony. Orcas navigate, hunt, and communicate through echolocation and sound. Their inner ear bones, the tympanic bullae, are massive, dense, and extraordinarily sensitive. The constant underwater roar of ship engines in the strait doesn't just annoy them. It interferes with everything. Hunting, communication, mother-calf bonding calls. Some researchers believe the rudder attacks could be a response to that. Not a calculated revenge plan, but an expression of chronic acoustic stress. An animal that has been living inside a noise it can't escape, lashing out at the nearest physical source of that noise. And if that's true, then this isn't a story about orcas attacking boats. It's a story about what happens when you push one of the most intelligent creatures on Earth past its breaking point.
So what's the real answer? Revenge, play, training, trauma? Honestly, it might be all of them, running simultaneously in different animals for different reasons. That's what makes this story unlike anything we've seen before. If this video made you think, like and subscribe, and drop a comment. Revenge, fad, or training? Which theory do you believe?